Hey there, everyone. You've no doubt read, seen 50 different things on the UFOs and the balloons and all that. Probably watched 50 different videos, but I wanted to give my thoughts on this today because I think there's a bigger picture with all of this stuff that people are not really paying attention to, and that's, are we getting distracted for something? And I've heard a few people say this, but for the most part, what you see on social media and all of those are people sharing different things about, oh, it could be this, it could be that. Look at this, look at that. And I think we're getting distracted.
Please disperse. Nothing to see here.
From, in my opinion anyway, we're getting distracted from things that have a higher priority, things that they don't want to discuss. They don't want to have to answer questions about. So what better way to do this than, like a cat with a laser pointer, shine this little laser pointer up here, up at the sky, get everybody's phones pointed that direction, have them sharing stuff on social media. Meanwhile, we're not paying attention to some of these things that I'm going to talk about today. Now, before I get into this, I'm going to go through why this does concern me towards the end of this video, but I'm not saying that we should just be completely dismissive of this, because I think there are some issues with what is going on, and mainly the issues with me anyway are the balloons themselves that we're sort of being distracted from. Right now we're talking about all these other things flying around with no propulsion systems, and they can't shoot them down, and all of these different things that we're talking about. And we're not talking about the actual balloon that was spying on the United States that was sent from China. I'm not talking about that anymore. We're talking about this other stuff. And it's the same old tactic they use all the time. Distraction! And I think that's why I'm so apprehensive of looking this way when they're doing something else the other way, because they do it all the time. I think of Area 51 when I think of situations like this, because with Area 51, they were doing a lot of secret stuff back then they didn't want anybody to know about. All of a sudden, these UFO stories started coming out, and they just ran with it. They said, this is a great cover. Let's let people just go with this and go wherever they want with this.
Once again, a UFO has landed in America.
They're not going to outright deny that it's extraterrestrial or anything, because, that's something that keeps people talking and keeps people on social media. They pull out their Photoshop or their video editing software, and all of a sudden they can make up all sorts of crazy things and get people just even more fever pitched about all of this stuff. And I think by doing that, they are taking our focus off of the other things that I think really do matter, especially as far as preparedness is concerned, because some of these that I'm going to go through, you may think that they don't really have much to do with in preparedness, but in their totality, I think all of this stuff does. So the first thing I've got on this is, I think that, it's a possibility they could be distracting us from the fact that it's coming out that us and NATO were responsible for the Nord Stream 2 pipeline explosion. This is something that a lot of people said in the beginning, that it was us, right? Myself included, saying that it very well could be us. There was a lot of people, especially the mainstream media, putting out the narrative that, oh, Russia did it, and, all of that nonsense. And we all knew it was nonsense from the very get-go. And I think even the mainstream media figured out, hey, nobody's buying this. We need to pivot and go a different direction. But I think it's interesting that this is coming out now. And what this is a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist, Seymour Hersh, has alleged U.S. Navy divers laid bombs and destroyed the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. What he says, and he's got a larger article that goes into more detail, and I'll make sure and I'll leave a link to this below. But what he's saying is that the U.S. and NATO both are basically in cahoots with this and planned this whole thing. So Hersh 85 went on to claim that the Navy conducted the operation under the cover of a NATO maritime exercise, Baltops 22. So who knows how much is actually going to come of this? Who knows exactly, how much is true? I mean, we just don't know these days. But they'll never admit it. I think, in my opinion anyway, we all kind of know what exactly happened with the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. And again, for the greater good, right? They do whatever they want for the greater good. Another thing that is, I find a little bit concerning is the Jeffrey Epstein docs are supposed to be coming out, made public. The names on the infamous list, right? This is, who knows, what names make it onto this list, because again, they're going to put out what they deem is going to appease the people, appease the media, and not necessarily the names of people that are in control of stuff and could really damage our republic. And I think, and a lot of you probably think as well, there's a lot of names on that list that could really do some damage. And again, as far as preparedness is concerned, this by itself, not a huge deal, right? Other than I want to know the names of these dirtbags on this list. But when you put everything together in the big picture, I think it does matter because of the names that could be on that list and because of the damage it could do to the Republic, to the United States itself, and globally as well. And the further deterioration of trust in these yahoos that they're trying to pull the wool over our eyes and all of that. The next one, which is really concerning to me, is the Ohio train derailment and how they decided to go ahead and blow this up because it posed a bigger threat if they didn't. Now, granted, that may be true. I'm not sure. All I see is stuff on social media and news reports and stuff like that, and who knows what to believe with all of that. But I have seen things about how the news is saying that, it's okay, it's safe to drink water. Meanwhile, the fish in the water are dying. The birds are dying. I've seen things about how I've seen a news report here in Colorado about a reporter getting basically beat up and kicked out of reporting on that. I don't know the full story behind that whole thing, but that's all hush hush now too. So it always concerns me when it seems like a cover up, and that's kind of what this seems like. I'll have to talk to Vision Preparedness. He lives out there in Ohio. If any of you live out in Ohio, let me know what you're actually seeing out there, because it's just really hard to tell from a distance what's actually going on and what is concerning. It looks pretty concerning to me, and the fact that whether they had to or not, the fact that this happened and the things that led up to the reason this happened are all concerning and should be concerning to American citizens, because this is basically like a mini Chernobyl in the United States. What are the effects of this long term? So that could be something that they don't want to have to answer questions about. Another one that they can always figure out ways to answer questions and sidetrack and spin and all that is, I think this is pretty interesting. The January 6th committee interview sheds lights on the origins of the Proud Boys 1776 returns document, which I honestly didn't even know existed. But they're saying in here, Samuel Armas told the January 6th Select Committee in a newly disclosed interview that he didn't draft the document 1776 returns itself and had no role in aspects that laid out the operational strategy to occupy the federal buildings on January 6th. But in an hour-long, colorful interview with the committee, Armas said that he helped formulate some of the ideas that the document relied on, and that eventually ended up in the hands of the Proud Boys National Chair Enrique Torrio.
No way.
Not surprising at all to me that the FBI would be planting the seeds and making sure that things go along according to the way they want them to go along. Same thing happened with Gretchen Whitmer, where those guys were going to basically give up, and they were like, no, you can't give up. So none of this is really surprising to me. And I don't know that they necessarily want to cover this up, because it is something that they will just spin, and they will, just like the whole insurrection thing has become what it is now. And it absolutely wasn't, in my opinion, an insurrection. But this is another one of those things. Hey, we'll just, this was a perfect opportunity to get all these UFOs up there and distract everybody from all the things that are going on. Another big one, and again, this is one of those things, it's a piece of that puzzle, but another big one is Comer Wyden's investigation into Biden's involvement in his family's business schemes. And what this is tying tying in or connecting the dots of Hunter Biden and Joe Biden. That stuff that the mainstream media and everybody's been telling you, it doesn't matter. He's not the president. It's just, leave the guy alone. All of this that's going to be coming out with these investigations are, in my opinion, going to show or could possibly show the ties between Hunter Biden, between the Ukraine, between Joe Biden, between a whole bunch of different things that could lead to massive problems for this administration and like I said, for the country in general, because of how it could undermine what they deem is the correct way to go with all this stuff. So I think this is one of those things they're definitely don't want to have to answer any questions about and want to maintain that line of, there's nothing to see here. You guys are out of your mind. You're a conspiracy theorist. You just don't know what you're talking about.
Friend is crazy. Oh, I'm crazy.
I think it is interesting. A couple other things, that also get me is, the southern border. They don't want to have to answer the southern border about the southern border itself. So this is a great opportunity to just have that distraction and have people talking about this bright, shiny object, right? Flying through the sky, everybody taking pictures and all that stuff. And nobody's talking about the real issues that seem like they're just compounding and compounding and that could eventually, like a volcano erupting, right? All this pressure just builds and builds and it finally just erupts because they can't hide all the crap they're doing anymore. And it seems like all of this stuff is starting to come out. The other thing that concerns me about this, and maybe they're trying to distract from, is the first balloons themselves, right? The balloons that actually did come from China, the balloons that actually were spy balloons, according to them and other people. Not according to China. According to China is somebody else or a private company or weather balloons or whatever they're trying to say. But that's the stuff that I want the questions to, or the answers to. That's the stuff I have questions about. And I do have questions about all of these other things that they're shooting down, because that's concerning. You're shooting down stuff over the sky. But I want to know why that was allowed in the first place. And like I said, I'll get into that. But that's the stuff that I want to know the answers to. Why was it allowed? If it has happened 4 or 5 times before this, why is it not a big deal? Or why are they letting it happen? That's what I want to know the answers to. And that is concerning to me as an American citizen, because they're just letting this stuff fly through our airspace. And it seems like, probably to the average person, it seems like no big deal. It's a freaking balloon, right? It's not, they've got satellites, they've got all this technology. Why would they even worry about a balloon? My brain, though, goes to the fact of the low technology thing could be something that was actually useful here in the future. You think about, or I think about, I'm sure you do too, the EMP factor of this balloon. They've always talked about how they need to get something high enough in the atmosphere to get a wide range of area, right? This would be something that potentially could do that. Now, honestly, I don't know. I don't know how far-fetched that is or not, but that's where my brain goes with all of this stuff. Also, the EMP factor, you think about these different things that governments are doing. Everything is reliant on technology these days. Everything from the military to the private sector, everything is technology-based, internet-based. If you can, as a country, take some of that stuff out, you're going to have an advantage. Now, because one country's working on something doesn't mean the other country's not as well. I just saw this the other day, which I thought was interesting and not surprising. But the military is testing a weapon that aims to destroy electronics, not buildings. To me, that's an EMP device, right? Maybe it's different technology. Maybe it does it in a different way. I don't know. But that's what it means to me. They're trying to figure out ways to take out different technology. Now, if the United States is doing this, China's doing it, Russia's doing it, all these other people are doing it as well. And this could be sort of where all of the technology is heading in the future, because everything is electronic. And what a better way to sort of have a backup plan to all of this than a stupid balloon, right? So I mean that's kind of where I go with this. I'm not the one to just be completely dismissive of something because it just on its surface, it seems completely ridiculous. But there's a reason that they're investing in something like this and testing it out. Maybe they're just testing the waters to see the reaction they're going to get for something like this from the United States. Maybe they do have something that is more capable of what I was talking about, like with an EMP or something, but they didn't want to throw that up there yet. So they pushed something like this out and see how far they can get it. And they got it 2/3 across, actually all the way across the country before it was actually shot down. And according to our government, this has happened a bunch of times in the past. And according Trump, according to them, Trump, so who knows how much of that to believe as well. But it is concerning that this was allowed to happen. It is concerning that a lot of this stuff under this administration is just allowed to happen, and we are being pushed in this direction. The Nord Stream pipeline, to me, that's concerning because it is basically pushing us to a World War III, almost like they want this to happen. The military-industrial complex. The stuff in Ukraine, same thing. All the stuff in Ukraine really concerns me because of all the other things, the underlying factors that really maybe aren't ever going to be made public, but we know they're there. Maybe some of this comes out with the Hunter Biden stuff. But the military-industrial complex, the whole reason these things are going on, there's a whole lot more to it. But people just want to put a little Ukrainian flag logo in their profile and talk about how they support them, and it's all good. While that part of it I do agree with, the people suffering because of the yahoos on the top doing this stuff, that concerns me. There's a whole bigger picture of a game being played that we're basically just, the ants on the ground while they're playing their little games. So that's the stuff that concerns me. So at any rate, I just wanted to just kind of do a video because I see a lot of this stuff going on social media. I've seen a couple things, even people making stuff up just to get the clicks, get the likes, get the ratings and all that. And that's dangerous as well because that's more of that distraction. That's more of that stuff they're feeding us to keep us involved, and not the powers that be, but, the people that just want the clicks and ratings and stuff. I saw this one thing that I wanted to show everybody. This was on Twitter. And this is the type of stuff that I'm talking about. This is the Alex Jones type things, FEMA and the coffins, right? Somebody posted this about what they saw a truck, or this is a video of a truck after the thing got shot down. This is a picture of the truck rolling through. And actually, this is about 6 years old, I think. And this is a picture of, or a video of, a truck rolling through that actually had an airplane, a military airplane that was downed. And it had, I don't know if it crashed. I don't know what happened, but that's what this is. But people are making this seem like, oh, look, they downed something, and look, they've got it right here. They're taking this to Area 51, whatever they're trying to say. This is the stuff you've got to be a little bit leery about as well, because like I said in the beginning, everybody, opening up Photoshop and making different pictures, or people that are really good at video editing and After Effects and adding stuff to these movies and these clips. They're doing stuff like that. So you just don't know what's true and what's not these days. And I think all of that adds to that distraction of us not paying attention to the stuff that's really important in preparedness, the things that really can affect our lives as American citizens, as wherever you're from. Those things that could affect us, the fact that our politicians and our leaders, world leaders, are all corrupt as hell. The fact that all of this stuff is deteriorating around us. The economy, food prices. You can't even buy a steak these days. You can't even buy a dozen eggs without putting a second mortgage on your house these days. They don't want us to pay attention to that. Look at this bright, shiny thing up in the sky. All of those are things that I think we're being distracted from by this. And I'm not trying to say that we just need to just forget about this stuff, these balloons and these UFOs and all of these different things. What I am saying is that don't forget about the other stuff as well. We need to see where this all goes. I hope we get answers. I'm not real, positive that we're going to get any sort of answers. We're going to get the answers that they deem that we need to know or that will shut us up. But, as far as true answers or real answers, who knows what we get, just like with the Epstein stuff and all the other things. But I think all of those things are important as far as preparing is concerned, because we do need to pay attention to where everything's going, because it doesn't look good. All these things I just ran through, you look at them in a whole and how they could, like I said, that volcano getting ready to erupt. Things could, at the drop of a hat, get pretty bad. And not saying that it's going to in the next month, not saying that it's not going to in the next month. But at the drop of the hat, or one small thing kicks off all of those dominoes and they begin to fall, one small thing could kick all this stuff off. And there's just 100 things floating in the air right now that could start that. So at any rate, if I'd love to get your guys' thoughts on it. If you have any more information that I didn't mention in this video about the balloons or the UFOs or anything like that, make sure to leave a comment below. I'll leave a couple of these links that I talked about today in the description below, so you can check those out. But if you have any ideas, any comments, any thoughts on this whole subject, let me know in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. And until next time, take care and prepare. We'll talk to y'all later.